Signore e signori, diamo il benvenuto a VISIO.NEXT Trends all'amministratore delegato di Italian Exhibition Group, Ugo Ravanelli. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to VISIO.NEXT Trends CEO of Italian Exhibition Group, Mr. Ugo Ravanelli.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning and welcome to Vicenzaoro January, which is now an established tradition, begins with a round table of the highest level, addressing a theme that will be the main focus of this year's event, sustainable creativity. The experts who have accepted to join us today will help us to explore the world of the creativity and the sustainability, and even better, the connection between the two items. For the longest time, Yaeger, IIG, Italian Exhibition Group, in Italy we say Yaeger, has attention to sustainability and in its DNA. And Vicenzaoro, thanks to its historical experience, has become the most recognized national and international point of reference for the jewelry sector. Thus, we have decided to dedicate the event to this theme because we believe that the future, not only of the sector but of the entire planet, hinges on the ability to synthesize creativity and sustainability. For the skill of the most qualified professional at all levels to create a new solution and the problem posed by current times, and in parallel to support the commitment to make every step of these responses sustainable. The people on this stage are, in their area of expertise, among those held in the highest regards in the international field. We are honored to rely on their experience to kick off this new edition of Vicenzaoro. I gladly leave the stage to them and wish everyone great success in your work. Thank you.
Signore e signori, diamo il benvenuto alla Master of Ceremony, Vice President, Chief Style Officer, curatrice di Mayfair Rocks, nominata nel 2002 gioielliere e rivenditore dell'anno. Lauren, la più giovane nella Hall of Fame del National Jeweler, premiata nel 2003 come Key to Italy da ICE e gioielliere dell'anno per il suo lavoro come designer e marchi italiani. Sempre in prima fila alle sfilate, soprannominata da Moda Operandi The Real Buyer, si dice che abbia la più grande collezione privata di Del Pozzo sul pianeta. Lauren è sempre la prima a scoprire nuovi talenti. Rappresenta la quarta generazione alla guida di Mayfair, l'azienda di famiglia che ha festeggiato il suo 60° anniversario nel 2016. Signore e signori, Lauren Kulchinsky Levison. Ladies and gentlemen, please let me introduce our Master of Ceremony, Mayfair Rocks Vice President, Chief Style Officer and Curator, Jeweler and Seller of the Year in 2002. Lauren, the youngest in the Hall of Fame of National Jeweler, winner of the Key to Italy Prize by ICE, the Italian Foreign Trade Commission, Jeweler of the Year for her work with Italian designers and brands, always at the forefront of fashion shows, nicknamed the Real Buyer by Moda Operandi. Rumors have it that she owns the world's largest private Del Pozzo collection. Lauren is unsurpassed in discovering new talents. She belongs to the 4th generation leading Mayfair, the family company that celebrated its 60th anniversary in 2016. Ladies and gentlemen, Lauren Kulchinsky Levison.
Good morning. That was a very long-winded, both language introduction. Thank you for joining us this morning to our roundtable discussion. You all look great. This is our discussion on sustainability and what it means to be sustainable in 2019 in the jewelry industry, and what sustainability can mean to you and what we hope you take away from it today. There's many definitions of sustainability, and I'm sure you've all heard it. It's a buzzword going around. It means a lot to me personally. My family has been recycling and thinking globally, acting locally since the 70s. For those of you who don't know my family, my mother was at the forefront of the recycling program on Long Island. We were a family of 6 and put a half of a can, a bin, if you will, of rubbish out a week because we composted and recycled everything. It was difficult growing up when you wanted to throw everything away and make it easy, but my mom was a real pioneer, if you will, in that. So, of course, being in a family business, we brought that over to our stores, and we didn't have the prettiest packaging, but it was recycled. We didn't have the most advanced boxes when everybody was doing, you know, the coolest things on the block, but we were really thinking, how can we help the planet? My parents were, you know, if you know them, a little hippie-ish. So here we are now in 2019, and it's kind of the norm. Our clients bring their boxes back to us. Hey, you know, we don't need this box. Do you mind? You know, I didn't really, you know, hurt it. Would you want to use it again? So I really hope, if anything, that you come away from our program this morning just maybe thinking a little bit further in how you can be more sustainable. Because the jewelry industry in itself really is sustainable. In fact, Lynn Yaeger is going to be the first person who walks up here. Lynn, please join us. Lynn is going to explain how you can be a luxury recycler, because she herself is a treasure hunter, and I'm going to have her joined by a few other people. The next person I'm going to invite up is Paola Ferrari, who's going to explain to us about NanoShapes and how to be a philanthropist of the future and think far ahead and try to save the world. Then we're going to have Lydia Courteille, who is one of which a scientist, a jewelry designer, and also a luxury recycler. And then we are going to be joined by somebody who is also helping the future, a recycler and somebody who can help you smelt better. Instead of smell better, smelt better. Massimo Poliero. So we have a very esteemed roundtable this morning, which is straight ahead. So Lynn is a contributor to American Vogue, and I'm going to get right into it. Lynn is so passionate about vintage jewelry. Lynn, can you explain to us, or tell us a little bit about why you were sitting up here?
Because you invited me.
Besides the
and
fact
I
that I
never
invited
came
you.
to this before, and I thought it would be fun. No, really, because I wasn't brought up in a family that collected antiques or knew anything about antiques. I think they thought old things were kind of icky. So when I discovered antique jewelry, it was my own sort of personal discovery, and I was stunned that I could own something that was that was so old and so historic, and I don't know, it's a very different way of looking at jewelry than the way that you look at new jewelry. When you look at antique jewelry, it's really not about the stone or the weight, it's really about the creation. And I don't know, I started collecting, and I think I also became very interested in the dealers and all the stories that they had to tell about the jewelry. I wanted to learn so much from people who, I was always haunting booths and stores, booths on 47th Street and stores that there's no way that I could afford anything. And sometimes people were nice to me, and I would come back and make friends and learn about their jewelry, and sometimes they weren't nice. And then I didn't go there anymore. But there was something about the history of the pieces and the fact that they were only loaned to us. And that, I mean, I love any kind of inscription, and I would kind of try to research the person's name, if it was a memorial ring and it had their name and their death date. But the idea that it was only loaned to us and that it was going to be passed down to someone else was just so enthralling to me.
So you will find yourself very much at home at Vicenzaoro because, as you started out by saying, it wasn't about the stone or the weight, it was about the passion of the piece. That's pretty much design jewelry in a nutshell, because it really is about the passion and the story and the piece. And especially Italian jewelry, it's about the art, the artistry, and what went into making it as much as the grand finale of what you go home wearing. So there's a parallel there. What about, you know, the gemstone that it is? If you get tired of wearing it, can you take it out and make it something else? What about that?
Well, I never thought you should do this. And I would buy like a beautiful stick pin, and people would say, turn it into a ring, you never wear it. I'd be like, no, but then it will lose its integrity, blah, blah, blah. So I go to the Cheapside Hoard exhibit in London. So if people don't know about this, the Cheapside Hoard was this jewelry that was found in 1911 in London. It had been buried for some reason in the 16th century. I don't know, there was, you know, I don't know why the guys buried it and ran away, but they did. Maybe it was stolen, who knows. Anyway, a lot of that jewelry, it turned out when people researched it, had been remade from even older jewelry. And I thought, well, if 600 years ago people were remaking jewelry and didn't have a problem with it, then maybe I can do this. So I do it now, but I still feel a pang, but I know that it's the way that jewelry in itself is recycled and is sustainable. I mean, everybody pulls stones out of ancient old pieces that they don't like anymore, or even newer pieces, and brings their personal vision to it and recreates it.
That's one wonderful thing about jewelry. It is, I mean, there's things that you need to do, a criteria that you need to hit to be considered a sustainable jewelry company. But in itself, jewelry is sustainable to me because you can pass it down generation to generation. I mean, I mean, you could pass a dress down, but who knows if it's going to fit.
Dress is going to disintegrate.
It's going to disintegrate. And
jewelry does not. The jewelry.
Here's a Vogue editor. Dresses disintegrate.
They disintegrate. I mean, I've had the experience. I used to wear a lot of vintage clothing. It's a little off the topic, but I was in this beaded gown at an event, and at that moment, the 100-year-old beads decided they'd had enough of life. The silk disintegrated. The beads came crashing to the floor. I was half naked and had to tie a sweater around. True story. Never happened with jewelry. See, that's why jewelry's better.
Jewelry is better. Paola Ferrari. Paola is the founder and owner of NanoShapes, and she is the president of I'm sorry, I'm going to let you pronounce this. I'm tripping over my tongue this morning as it is. Can you tell us what a nanoscience and nanoscience technology is?
Accademia di Gagliato, the NanoSciences. So what we've been doing for 12 years now in a very small village in Calabria, we brought a cohort of more than 100 scientists, and we bring them every year to talk about application of nanoscience to medicine in particular, and what we're looking at is defeating cancer. So these scientists come from all over the world, and we bring them in this very small village. What they talk about, again, nanoscience. What is nanoscience? If you consider a marble, a glass marble, compared to the size of the Earth, that's the proportion between a nanometer to a meter. So nanoscience and nanotechnology is the ability that scientists and engineers have at this time to manipulate and engineer matter at that level. So my husband, I'm married to a superstar scientist, and he figured out ways to apply nanotech to the cancer research field. In this little town in Calabria, we ended up there serendipitously. We started having conferences about nanotech applied to medicine. And while doing this, since this was a whole co-production with the people of the village, only 400 people, we got incredible results also in terms of impact on the community. And this has been an experiment, a lab in community regeneration. So at one point, I needed money, to run the Academy for Kids. We train more than 1,000 children in nanotech. The kids in Calabria know about nanotech more than any other children.
So you made a piece of jewelry to raise money?
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So tired of knocking on doors to try to raise funds, I said, why don't I make a little for-profit company, and the profits I will use to support this experiment in this town in Calabria. So this is how Nanashapes came about. My husband was coming home with beautiful pictures from his lab of the nanoparticles, and I said, I want to wear these sizes, these shapes. Sizes I cannot wear. You can barely see them under a microscope. But the shape was so organic, so beautiful, and I said, let's turn this into jewelry. So in this sense, now Nanashapes is jewelry as a means for sustainability of this village.
A nonprofit.
Exactly. So has a content of itself of, again, being a very sustainable company, but as I was thinking of what are the other imports that come from Nanashapes in terms of sustainability, this is one. It's a means to achieve the sustainability of this experience in the village for the long run.
So how do you make these pieces? Are they gold? Are they precious? Are they semi-precious?
We started with, we went to a metallurgist and a gemologist in Matera, and we launched the first collection of pieces in silver, brass, and copper. All the profits that came from those went into the Accademia di Gagliato of the NanoSciences, and then I was approached by a luxury brand PR, and he said, I love these shapes. I think you should turn them into also a high-end product. Why don't you launch the diamond collection? So the diamond collection, and we have a booth here in Fashion Room. What we brought here are these necklaces and rings and that are made out of 18-karat gold and diamonds.
You were saying when we were talking before that the women and men who wear these pieces, who aren't just buying them from you to support your nonprofit, look at them as a sign of hope.
Exactly.
Also, can you explain
Absolutely.
how it helps them get well?
Yeah, our collection does not expect to be able to compete with the beautiful, incredible things that you see here, exhibited and displayed these days. The level of craftsmanship and artisanal prowess that all the other booths will display. We don't want to compete with them. We cannot. What we offer when someone buys our pieces is to be part of the journey that brought my husband from the idea of this nanoparticle all the way possibly to clinical trials, because this jewelry represents the shape of the nanoparticles that my husband, who is a renowned pioneer in the field, conceived when in Berkeley as a professor 25 years ago. These nanoparticles are, again, so small you cannot see them. They are loaded with chemotherapeutic agents. They travel the bloodstream. They get on target on cancer cells. They release their payload. They kill the cancer cell, like the Death Star, with a Star Wars, with a very elegant physical and chemical sequence of reactions, and then they dissolve, so they disappear.
You said that they're concave.
Yeah,
they're
coconut.
Giving to you
they
versus
receive, exactly.
pushing away.
So people, especially, we've been talking about what they represent, and again, we are offering people to be on board of this phenomenal journey. We still don't have cure for metastatic cancer with us, and people that bought them, especially women with breast cancer, say, Paola, I want particularly the copper one because I know of its Ayurvedic properties, or they feel like it's a tool of empowerment, but again, also a symbol of this journey and this struggle that humankind has fought for so many years to defeat one of the greatest fears that we all have in our life, the fear of death and suffering due to cancer.
So to bring it back to the jewelry world, you're a woman.
I am.
Obviously. Although, I'm sorry, today could be not so obvious. I don't mean to offend anybody. So in the jewelry world, the woman of the tribe would be sometimes the medicine woman, and she would give a sick patient an amulet to wear filled with good energy and things to focus on to get well, or herbs or things like that. So you also have created like a modern day poultice.
It's a holder of hope, I think, a container that holds the hope that my husband, when he goes now out and talks, he said, I promised, I made a commitment to my children. We have 5 kids. Mm-hmm. They are in their late 20s and early 30s. I made a commitment that during their lifetime, we'll defeat cancer, death and suffering due to cancer. We will still live with cancer, but we'll be like diabetes, like hypertension. We can live with those diseases. Mm-hmm. So this is the promise, the commitment that my husband made. And again, by turning that hope into a jewelry line, we were offering people to be on board of this fascinating journey.
So I'm going to now push it over to Lydia Courteille, who is one of my favorite designers. She is from France, and I'm going to let her explain how she does sustainability in today's jewelry market. She uses nature in her jewelry, both creative and sustainable. Can you explain to everybody how you move the mysterious symbols that you use in the floral and fauna to keep going? Sometimes the pieces are from the 17th century and some of them are modern. How do you decide how to do that?
Okay, one part of my work is to give a second life to the old pieces you have probably in your safe and many people doesn't wear, and I think it's a shame. So I begin to set old cameos, old pieces, old stones in a new way. It was a big success. Then I decided to make collection with a different kind of subject, especially from the nature, then from the symbol. For example, all kind of religion symbol. I trust in nothing, so it's more easy for me to work on different symbols like crosses and skulls, and I think also we have to think in the antique way. For example, with the skulls, that means its name is memento mori. Memento mori means remember the death.
The skulls.
Yes, for example. And it's why I work on this kind of symbol. It's remember the humility, and remember you could be rich, poor, or...
We're all the same in death.
But everybody become like that. This is in the old way to think for this symbol. When I begin, I use recycled gold a lot too, because I think that it's a shame to make the planet so horrible with and gold is not something. It's a little bit dirty when you go to the mine, and you see it's not a good way. Also diamonds, and we say blood of diamond and things like that. So
you're very careful with what products you use.
Yes, this is very important. Also, to transmit the heritage of the family, and you don't leave the things in the safe, and it's good too.
So, Lynn, would Lydia be a company, a jeweler, that you would treasure hunt with?
Yeah. I've been looking in Lydia's window in Paris since 1987 when she opened, and I feel like I have been, although we don't really know each other, on this journey with her through the window of seeing all antiques and then her own work, kind of half antiques and half her own work, and then more and more what she's doing. But yeah, it's a really vivid example of how how you transform this old piece and how it still has this life. And
have you two met before now?
Yes.
Yes, we have that
Yes.
over the counter in the store.
Yes.
Over the That's such a great over the counter. I love that.
It's true.
Exactly.
Lydia, what is your favorite we've had this discussion. What is your favorite of all of your collections? I know it's hard to say to a parent what's your favorite child, but most artists have their favorite collection.
Yes, but for me, my favorite is the next one.
The next one.
Yes, the one which is not finished.
What is your creative process? Is it like you're taking an idea that you've worked on and making it move forward, or is it always brand new?
First of all, I collect the stones. And when I have enough in one color, I begin to think what is effect for me. We say Pavlovian effect. When I see blue, simple. I think at the sea, for example. When I see green, I think about chlorophyll. When I see orange, I think about vitamin. And the red is the blood, is cruelty. This is easy, you know. I don't want to put too much intellectuality in my collection.
When you have a centerpiece, like a lot of your pieces are hand carved or vintage cameos or intaglios or things like that, when is it time to say nobody wants to adopt you? It's time to move you to some other concept around you. Have you ever done that? Have you transformed a piece of yours more than once?
Most of the time I use the full pieces and I just work around to make, for example, cameo as a ring. Even if it's too big, and I don't care. I love big jewelry because I think in the past most of the big jewels was fake. And now with the new technology, we can make in real what it was fake in the past. It's why, because in the past we have to pay for the model, and it was a lot of money. Now you can use whatever you want with lasers, and it's very interesting. It's why we can develop a lot of collection, because we can make one of a kind and not spend so much money in the model.
So when you've done that, have you ever said, I was wrong, I made this piece a ring, it should have been a brooch?
No, not anymore. No, I don't care. I prefer this more than to leave it in my safe, you know. At least I can wear, you know, it's not in the window. You go to the museum, okay, it's nice, but I love to wear museum pieces. And it's not a question of value, because sometimes you can set with diamond or even in silver, things not expensive.
Right. So you use recycled gold. So Massimo Poliero, who is to your left, he specializes in smelting products, and he is going to explain to us, because I've probably screwed this up already, why his company is sustainable. He is in the T-Gold show, and he sells technologies to companies, not consumers, and he is probably somebody that you'd be interested in working with, because he works with everybody from jewelers to Prada on zippers, right? Isn't that what? Okay. He's super interesting. Go for it.
So,
how did you start?
I start from, so we are talking about Legor. What about the origin is a family business. So this is the key also to understand why sustainability is so important to us. Caring for our family, for your family, means having a long-term vision about how to act every day to guarantee the future to our next generations. So in a short term, profit are not the first goal and is not our primary focus. So our family now is much wider than the Poliero one, but the attitude remains exactly the same. So with this long-term goal, we embrace all the 3 pillars of sustainability.
What are the 3 pillars of sustainability?
Yeah, and this is in a natural way. We say the first one is we want to be people that are smiling every day, also doing some social, working in some area, in social area, that dreams about the future. The second pillar is in a safe environment. And also the third pillar is to have also a reliable economic base.
So Legor embraces all 3 of these pillars right now, or they will?
Yes.
Okay.
We are doing. And we can say that during what we are doing now in the company, that coming also from what we was doing at home.
At home.
So less waste.
Okay.
It's coming from if you think it's coming from your family, it's coming from your home activity, more well-being, and also more money to keep investing. Because if you can save, if you can work in the right way, you have also more money to invest in the company. So,
what exactly, though, before we get into those things, what does your company do? Explain it to me like I'm in kindergarten, because I still don't understand it.
Okay, so the process is how we are talking about the water recycle. We have 99% of the water that we use in the company that we can recycle internally, so we can reuse.
What kind of machine does it?
The machine is a specific machine that is coming from chemical companies that give us the terms to be, we say, user-friendly in terms of the use internally, but also is the same about the fumes that we have during the melting, that we can recover 90% of the zinc oxide that we have from the evaporation of the metal. And this is why we have the ISO 14,000 and 18,000 is not a marketing tool, is a Responsible Jewelry Council, because we think this is something that is natural for Legor to be there.
So if I'm a company like Lydia, who likes to work in recycled metal,
yes.
What would I buy from Legor to help my company continue working in recycled metal?
Okay, the other topic is connecting to the metal that we use. So we are using from platinum to palladium to gold, silver, copper, a lot of copper also, because we are doing also a lot of things for fashion industries. And the question is, you have to work in the chain of starting from the mine, arriving to the melting that we have inside. So to care about who is the supplier, the way that is coming, how they treat the material, the people in their company. So we have this is part of a Responsible Jewelry Council that we are part of that. So we have to work, and sometimes we go to visit also our suppliers around the world to check if all these things is done in the right way.
So there's nothing like that Lydia could buy from you to do this in her store yet, in her space?
She can buy from us is something that is tested, that is refining. The most part is refined, and we use the best way to be, we say, self-certified inside to be the company that think about the environment in the best way.
Okay. So let's say I want to be more sustainable. Do I then hire you to come to my company to put the 3 pillars of sustainability into effect? Or do you sell me something to make my company efficient? Which way?
I sell to you something that is connected to...
So what is the thing
metals,
you sell
alloys.
me?
I sell to you alloys. I sell to you plating products that you need during your process to have, we say, a clean system.
Okay.
And to have and you can say that you have a green, we say, green product.
So buying something from you, people would have the confidence that the 3 pillars of sustainability are being upheld. So you'd have a good feeling that
Okay.
you bought
Exactly.
this thing.
I give you
For happy people
my
and-
metal, and you
We can also refine.
you
Yes.
recycle, and you give me a certificate as is. It's the way. Okay.
So if we want to use you as a refinery, our trust is that you're not dirtying up the environment anymore. You're trying to help clean it up while you're refining.
We try to keep clean every
Got
day.
it. Okay. Does anyone have any questions for Massimo while we are on the refinery area? Okay. So when you said fashion houses, for the zippers perhaps, the plating on the zippers, is that how they would use you?
In the plating area, there is a lot of question to discuss in terms of we use today. The company use a lot of cyanide-based products.
Okay.
So the goal for the future is to work without cyanide.
Without
so we
cyanide.
can clean also the plating area in terms of the use of this kind of toxic materials.
Yeah.
So also gold, potassium cyanide, and so on.
You have a question, Lydia?
Yes, when we give you the gold, for example, what is the percentage of lost?
The loss.
The lost.
The loss normally is less than 0.5%. Depends on the material. So we are talking about scraps, gold scraps.
But you give us the color we want. For example, if I give you 100 grams of yellow gold, you give me yellow, or you make a treatment to make another color. If I have to use another color.
So we're talking about scientific stuff now, really scientific stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, when we receive the gold scraps, we have to refine on
Yeah.
pure metal, and after we transform
Yeah.
another time in 18 karat,
Okay.
14 karat, yellow, white,
Okay.
red.
Sorry.
Ladies, you have any questions for Massimo? Okay. Lynn, when you're treasure hunting,
Yeah.
do you ever ask, what is this made out of? I mean, some of the old metals, I mean, there's cyanide in some metals. Did you know that? Did you ever get...
No, I know that the one time I bought this Tiffany watch from like the late 20s, and it was on a night table. Oopsie. And it was on a night table, and I was in the middle of the night. I thought, what is that funny glow? And those radium numbers, which killed the poor person that painted them, were still glowing.
Oh my God.
They were glowing like almost, 100 years later.
Oh my God.
No, I don't tend to ask, but one of the very first pieces that I bought, which was a memorial ring, and it was from like 1820 or 1830, I couldn't believe that I was going to own something so old, and it was pinchbeck, and the dealer said to me, this is pinchbeck, and I was like, oh, okay. I was like, I didn't know what that was,
Right.
So I went home, this was before Google, and probably looked in like an actual book to see what it was. But no, I mean, for me, when I fall in love with the piece, I try not to be snobby about the materials.
Okay.
You know?
But some things, like, can actually hurt you.
What?
No,
I
like, I mean,
can't.
I wouldn't want cyanide going into my... Who would wear cyanide?
What has cyanide in it?
He's saying that some metals can have cyanide left over when you refine it.
No.
Then you'd end up having to wear the Hope pendant. It's all connected. Yeah. What about haunted pieces? I mean, I always wonder, people who collect antiques, does anybody ever had a haunting come out of an antique piece?
No, I'm not superstitious.
Okay, so do you have to be superstitious to get haunted?
Yeah, there's no such thing as haunting. Newsflash.
Oh, okay.
Hello, Miss Scientist. It's like, no.
No?
Doesn't exist. No.
Okay.
There's no such thing as ghosts or haunting. You know that.
I have lived in a haunted house. I've had some ghosts in my house.
No, you didn't have. You're the one that said bats got in the hotel.
Yeah,
room.
I've had bats in the
Oh,
hotel.
bats in the hotel. Don't tell me that. Well, bats are real at least.
No, I just always wondered, like, growing up, we always sold modern jewelry. It's very hard to, wear all the hats. Everybody here knows that. And so I always was like, oh my gosh, what if, I'm so glad we don't sell antiques. What if there was a ghost living in the ring? But Lydia said she's had like, what, 70,000 pieces, and she's not gotten a ghost yet?
Oh, and I'm not dead. And I'm here.
And she's here. She's a proof in the pudding. Go ahead,
Be
Paola.
sure.
Now, talking about sustainability, I think one issue is very important and has to do with what's happening on the global scale on this theme. It's wonderful that Vicenzaoro has adopted and embraced this theme now, and I think Vicenzaoro, or the group that organized in the IEG, organizing this spectacular event, they adhere, they subscribe to the United Nations Global Compact.
Yes, we were going to get,
okay,
we're going to get to that.
Take it from here.
Yes,
this is so
important. We were going to go from ghost busting to actually something else you brought up.
Real.
We're going to go from, because I was going to get to how you had brought up the making more women millionaires.
Yeah,
because
we want more women millionaires.
Women tend to put their money into saving the world. Versus,
Not me. I just go right out
I
and
go
buy
shopping
jewelry.
and buy jewelry, but that to me saves our world, so that's fine. But you said that we actually save the
actually,
world.
in the UN next week, I'm part of a group that we are co-conspirators for this women's equality moonshot. So we looked at the wealth, how it is distributed in the world. It appears that only 10% is run or managed by women, and 2/3 of these women inherited wealth. And studies show that when women manage and run wealth, communities thrive, families live better. So the aspiration is that if we get that slice of the pie larger, and we have more women in position of using their wealth, we can reach the Sustainable Development Goals. The United Nations has set 17 for 2030. How do we do that? Going from STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, trying to catch women that can get into a pipeline that turns them into entrepreneurs in the renewable energy sector, also in the luxury sector with this sustainable inclination, and in the health, transportation, you name it. So we'll have a more balanced world, and hopefully the sustainable goals reached within a reasonable time frame.
So do you think, I'm going to ask you this question since you're in the fundraising world.
Yeah.
How do women fare in the fundraising world compared to men? Are there more, since this is your...
I don't have data about this. This would be an interesting survey, or, certainly this is a great idea, but I cannot claim that women are more generous than men.
I'm not asking that. I'm asking how they fare in fundraising. That's
in fundraising. This is everyone's guess, but sometimes it's true that women tend to be more caring, more passionate about in causes that benefit the community. So I think that the share of women in fundraising might be a little bit larger than men's, but that's just a guess.
So what you were getting at, which is what I was going to close with, is that Vicenzaoro and the whole group that is running so generously this panel, the vision, the mood is focusing on anti-corruption, human rights, work, labor, and environment. And it is something that it is going on. Was it in February?
This is the United Nations Global Compact was established 20
it's going on in February.
In February, there's the International Day of Women and Girls in Science, and that's when this Equality Moonshot will be launched.
Wait, stop. Okay, let me just finish what I was saying. Paola is going to run the next panel. So this is what we can focus on going home with. If you can't, or you don't have the power to change your company into sustainability, these are all really easy pillars to hit. Don't be corrupt, or stop being corrupt. Be focused on human rights. That's actually a really good one if you're not doing that now. Have equal work labor in your workplace, and try to give a little care to the environment. And we got the sign about 5 minutes ago that we had to wrap up, so that's why I was stopping you. So if you have any questions in regards to the United Nations, see Paula. She knows everything about the United Nations. And if you have any questions on fundraising, see Paula. If you have any questions on smelting, definitely see Paula or Massimo. And the rest of us are around to take pictures with you and look pretty. But that's it. And please visit Lydia's booth in the Design Center. Please see Massimo at the machine show TO. And you are in the fashion room.
Right.
And you and I will be walking around trying to see everybody.
We will see everybody.
We will see everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. If you do have any questions, please see us after because we don't have time for any of them. I'm so sorry.
Thank you.
We want a picture of us all together.
Signore e signori, siete tutti invitati alla cerimonia inaugurale che avrà luogo alle ore 12 nella Welcome Lounge del padiglione 7. Ladies and gentlemen, you're all invited to the open ceremony at 12 o'clock. Welcome Lounge, Hall 7. Thank you.